All right, here we go. Welcome back to Follow Through with LVB GT Diaries edition. I'm here with David Wiese, the South African-born Namibian father, international World Cup cricketer, all-round hitman around the world. He's got a podcast called Hitman for Hire, and we're finally sitting here about an hour or two since David's team beat me and knocked the Surrey Jaguars out of the GT20. First of all, congratulations on that, but also welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. That was quite kind of you. Thank you.
No, so we're fresh off it. David was there at the end. First game, you hit me for 6 down the ground. You knocked off the game. This game, you needed 6 off the last over. You're facing the last first ball of the last over, and I'm that deep mid wicket. I'm thinking, okay, well, he's finished the game. He's 2 days ago. I've seen him all around the world finish a game. He's going to do it all over again. But you edge, go through to the keeper, and some guy limped in and decided to hit a 2 and a 4. So I've watched you for so long finish games, but is it kind of like the Michael Jordan theory where he missed this many game winners, and he actually only made kind of 20% of the game winners that he actually took? I forget the quote. See, that's bad of me to even forget about the quote, but is that the feeling when finishing games?
Yeah, I think, the main thing about finishing games is, first thing you got to remember is that you think you're under the pump, but the bowler's just under the pump as much as you are. He's actually almost expected to close it out. You can only react to what the bowler does. So if he just bowls you a gun Yorker, there's nothing much you can do. So you just got to remember he's under the pump also, and then you just got to back your skills and back that you've done this in the net, you've done all the preparation, and sometimes you get lucky and the ball's in your slot. Again today, it was actually in my slot, and I tried to hit it back into South Africa, I think, and it just sometimes doesn't work out. And that's the nature of the beast. Fortunately, it doesn't work out for you. Somebody can come and nurdle it after you, and then just get the win. But yeah, I think it's just like they say, people don't forget the failures that much. They always remember the victories. They remember the sixes that you hit to win the game, and I think you just got to more focus on those.
I've watched you for so long, and especially in the last couple of years, as T20 cricketers come about, and especially the leagues all around the world. I've seen your career kind of explode in the last couple of years, playing all the tournaments. And I'm sitting there back in New Zealand and back in the Netherlands. I'm thinking, all right, he's a bowling all-rounder. We kind of bat similar position. We bowl similar overs. I'm like, I feel like I can do what he's doing. And the cool thing is you're showing that it is possible to go around the world and make a career of it. Was there a time back when you were younger, though, in terms of finishing games, that you hadn't worked it out, or you struggled, or where did you start with kind of that finishing role that you're known for now? Where was the early version of David Wiese compared to the 38, 39-year-old finisher now?
Yeah, I think it took me a long time to actually figure it out. And, as much as people think it's just, maybe swing hard and maybe it comes off, maybe it doesn't, there is actually a certain technique and a certain method to go about it. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I mean, when I was younger, it was just all about, try and hit the ball for 6, and, sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. And, most of the time it didn't come off when you go in with that attitude. So it took me a long time, a lot of games. I mean, I've played a couple of games now, so, there's a bit of experience there. But it was just actually when I started playing county cricket, started playing more games, and then started, getting opportunities in the leagues where you get put in those situations more often, that you actually learn how to go about things. And, once you do it once or twice, and you see, okay, this actually works. And, for me, the main thing that I always say is that as long as you're still batting, you can still influence the game. Doesn't matter how much you need. As long as you're still out there in the middle, you can still influence the game. You can't do anything when you've hacked out and you're sitting in the change room hating yourself. So as long as you're in the middle there, even if you have to take an extra 5 seconds just to chill and get your mind right again, just as long as you're out there, you can still affect the game.
And what about from a bowling perspective? Because you're on the opposite end half the time as well when you're having to bowl the final overs. What do you find harder, the batting side or the bowling side?
I think the bowling side. Like I said again, the bowlers are in control. You've got to nail your skill, and guys have become so good nowadays that if you just slightly miss, then you're going. So the bowling side, even defending 20 nowadays, you're not always comfortable when you start off that over. You just got to keep saying to yourself, look, if I can just nail 2 Yorkers, or whatever your go-to ball is at the end there, then it kind of just puts the pressure back onto the batter again. But it is tough because, at the end of the day, I feel like you, as a bowler, because you're in control of the delivery that you're bowling, you actually kind of expected to win the game. So there's not that much pressure on the batsman. But as the bowler, you actually, the only way is down for you from there. So that's always been tough. But I've always just tried to embrace the moment, just enjoy it. And if it comes well for you, then you're the man. If it doesn't, then, well, it's just another lesson that's learned.
So that's David Wiese now, the finisher, and you're making a career for yourself, and you're doing a fantastic job and setting yourself up for, your family in a good position, which is fantastic. I want to rewind a little bit and find out who David Wiese, growing up in South Africa, was it always cricket? Was it who was David Wiese, and kind of what was that family upbringing like to kind of mold you into the sportsman you are now?
So I think for like most South Africans, growing up, we were just outdoors the whole time, and we were just playing as much sport as you possibly can. I've got an older brother, he's 3 years older than me. So we were always just out in the garden. It wasn't always just cricket. I actually enjoyed tennis when I was younger also. Cricket was a sport that we played out in the garden, but then, started playing tennis. That evolved into squash, hockey, golf. It was always just playing as much sport as you can. Cricket actually wasn't the one that I was always the best at growing up. I think I was a little bit better at tennis when I was a bit younger, but I just always loved the team aspect of cricket, and I always just loved being out there with your mates and just the skill and everything that goes behind it. And then as I got older, I kind of put tennis on the back burner and then just kept playing cricket. But yeah, I didn't have the most exciting youth career as a cricketer, to be honest with you. Didn't really feature much anyway.
Right. So age group cricket did not really around.
I played most age groups, but I came from a smaller, well, what do you guys want to call it, state, province, county, or whatever. So it was kind of like being the big fish in a small pool. You always kind of just making up, you're making up the numbers in the tournaments. You're in the team there, but I mean, we played second division the whole time. We never really featured when it came to guys making SA schools, your school's team or anything like that. So yeah, I did play provincial and representative all the way through age groups, but I remember then when I got to university, pitched up there the first day of training at the university. I was like, I've played provincial, this and that. And the guys like, okay, cool. So the fourth team is over there. Just go train with them over there. I was like, wow, okay, thank you. And that was the opener, the eye opener for me there.
Well, how long did the coach realize that you weren't actually a 14 player?
I actually never played for them again after that.
Wow, that was
I was kind of like, you know what, you want to put me in the fourth team? I'm not going to come waste my time over here. And then I just focus on my studies and just put that on the back burner for a while, and then series of events happened and I just found myself playing again. But when that happened, it was a case of, well, I'm not going to go waste my time there. I was studying accounting. It was pretty tough at that stage. So I was like, well, I'll just put my effort into this and not bother with the fourth side.
Did you ever play that side in a game or against that coach since?
No, I didn't. I didn't play against that. I actually don't even remember who that coach was. I do remember there was a coach that told me, this was another one. Just when I finished school, we were like in the provincial setup sort of, but again, it was like the smaller second division teams, and I didn't make the men's team. And I went to them and was like, coach, what's going on? It's like, no, well, to be honest with you, we just don't think you're good enough. We don't think you're talented enough to play us. So we just didn't pick you with, we'll give other guys opportunities. It's like, well, okay, thank you. Last time I played for them also, just left again. So yeah, it wasn't a smooth path for me to get where I am today.
All right, I'm sensing some motivational things and how you get motivated. Do you have a dartboard at home, or do you have names that you kind of put up there and go, all right, watch you? So how did you motivate yourself, and how is that in that time, and how does that motivation kind of change as your career progress.
Yeah, I think, those are always just, that's giving you a little chip on your shoulder to, like, I'll show you, I'll do it, I'll prove you wrong. I was also lucky in the sense that I suppose there were the right coaches at the right time when I started picking up the game again and gave me opportunities. But yeah, I've always just had this chip on my shoulder, like, you know what, if you tell me, not just in cricket, but in life, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you that I can, or I'm at least going to do my best to prove that I can. And even sitting here now, I've still got the chip on my shoulder that keeps me going the whole time, whether it's now being the slightly older one in the team, it's that chip saying, I might be a little bit older, but I'll still show you guys I can keep up. I think that's, you can use that as quite a good motivation if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, because I've gone for a range of kind of motivations, like, okay, I've got to be intrinsic. I've got to self-motivate myself, and I've got to do it for the love of the game. But there are moments where I've been dropped and I fight my way back into the team, and all I'm thinking in that game is, I'm going to prove those two coaches who dropped me this last game. And I remember a game specifically for Wellington, I got dropped 12th man, and the very next game they picked me again, and I think I got 3 for 18 or something like that. And I was just, every time I got a wicket, I was just looking over to them. And I get on quite well with the coaches, but then I remember walking off and we won the game, and I just did like this point to them in like an anger, and I was still angry. I was still like angry that I got dropped, and I just pointed to them and then walked into the changing room, and they kind of got the...
Yeah. It's funny. It's a funny thing, how people react to it. Some guys, and you usually find it's the, I don't want to generalize anything, but it's that maybe the more talented guys out there, if they get left out, they don't respond that well to it, because they're not really good with adversity, because, this has never happened to me before. I'm so talented that they don't know how to deal with it. And then you get the guys who, are perceived as the hard workers, maybe not as talented, but they're the hard workers. And those are the guys that actually deal with adversity, better. Those are the guys that say, you know what, okay, I'm not going to mope about, I'm not going to sulk about being left out. I'm not going to get annoyed that I got smacked, and now I'm not, I'll come back better. I'll show you that I am good enough. And those are actually the guys that you want in your team.
Yeah. Did you learn that in terms of, from a book, or did older players, was it coaches, or has it just always been in you in terms of how to deal with setbacks and how to deal with injuries and moments throughout your career? Can you remember specifically anything that was like a penny drop moment that cleared the mind a bit?
Yeah, there was a moment when, so I went to go study, I went to university, and then I played, it was first class, but it was like semi-professional. In South Africa, you had like Division 1, Division 2, so, it was still semi-professional. So I was going through university, I was studying, that was my main thing, was studying, and then I was actually just playing cricket on the side. I was mates with a coach, and I think he enjoyed my company, so we just went and had a good time. And, I was fortunate that I did quite well, and then I got chosen for the National Academy. The year that I graduated university, it just kind of happened that I went to the National Academy, and I was there with all the 18, 19-year-olds. I was 22 years old. And obviously being a student, my fitness wasn't where it was supposed to be. And the first day of fitness testing, we went, I did all the tests, hopelessly failed everything, got called in. And the coach said to me, look, if it was up to me, you'd be gone. We would have chased you away, but we can't do that. We need to give opportunity. So this is your last chance. You need to make it work now. And I think that was the first moment where I was like, okay, well, hard work. You've got to, you're given this opportunity now. You can't just go and waste it. Let's just give it a bit of hard work. See what happens when you start working hard. And that was, I think, the first time where I really put in a lot of effort. And then from there was other certain moments where it was like never lacking of effort, but the mentality wasn't the best. Most cricketers, as you know, we're perfectionists. So I used to put so much pressure on myself, and you would just try harder and harder and harder, and you'll just end up being like a hamster on a wheel, just spinning about and, not getting any results. So then, there's certain coaches and certain mentors that I've had that I've kind of just learned how to deal with that, how to just deal with the life side of things. Also, it's been a long journey, and there's been a lot of pivotal moments for me to get to where I am today.
Pivotal moments. You grew up in South Africa, obviously the university, and a change in your fitness and the way you went about it that led to playing for the Titans there. Yeah. And then that kind of led to debuting for South Africa. So what was, I guess, I want to talk about kind of the South Africa, and then there's a moment in then when you moved away from South Africa and you started as a Kolpak for Sussex, and then the next transition is the playing for Namibia, and then now we're kind of I guess the final-ish chapter. I don't want to say the final chapter because I feel like you're fit enough and you're still able to go for another few more years. But let's start with that kind of playing for the Titans and then getting there or thereabouts for South Africa and then making your debut. Yeah. What was that journey like?
Again, it was weird because I never knew I was so close to playing for South Africa. So my first 2 years at the Titans, I think I only played 2 or 3 games. I was always in the squads, but I was just killing drinks the whole time. But that was okay for me because I was like, well, I've signed a 2-year deal. I'll enjoy it for 2 years, hang out with the boys, and then I'll go be an auditor afterwards. And that was fine. And then, 2 years came and they renewed my contract, started getting more game time. But I suppose I did it right, but I never thought I was so close to playing for South Africa. And then suddenly in 2013, we were busy doing our winter training, and the coach came up to me in the morning and was like, how's your day going? I was like, nice, coach, going good. We just finished the gym session and, worked nice and hard, feeling strong, and I'm going to go bowl a little bit. It's like, okay, cool. Well, your day's going to get a little bit better now. I was like, oh, what's up, coach? Like, no, you've been selected for Sri Lanka. It's like, for what, coach? Like, no, you've been selected for the T20 side for Sri Lanka. The Proteas coach is going to phone you today. He's asked for your number, but congratulations. And I was speechless. I was honestly speechless because I didn't see it coming. There was no talk about me doing it. Only 3 months before that, I played for the SA emerging side against Namibia and Zimbabwe and all of that. So I never thought I was so close. And I think maybe that was a good thing because I never put that pressure on myself to get there. I was just, always just enjoying the game and just always trying to do my best for the Titans. And all of a sudden get the phone call and I was speechless. I didn't know what to say or how to react. And yeah, it was a special moment, but it was just purely because I didn't realize I was so close.
Amazing. And so from that phone call to your first game, how many days or weeks was that?
That was about, I think, 4 or 5 weeks. Okay. So it was quite nice because we were busy doing our winter training. So I was in the indoors. We were busy working the whole time. So then, instead of just mindlessly hitting balls in the indoors, you actually had something to work for. But it was in Sri Lanka, and it was the Sri Lanka is always quite a challenging tour. And, I went over there, played my first couple of games, didn't set the world on fire or anything, but it was a good experience. It was really good. But, then I started making the old mistakes of, well, now you're playing for South Africa, you've got to show that you can play for South Africa and you've got to improve and you've got to be better. And then I put so much pressure on myself and lo and behold, got dropped the next series and it took me a while to get back into the team again. So, that was another hard lesson learned there.
Just from that first series?
Yeah, so I played it in Sri Lanka in first series, but I came in as, I think it's an injury replacement. I can't remember who got injured. And then next series was against Pakistan in the UAE. I was in the squad, but then I was just, part of the squad. Didn't play a game again. Then after that, I got left out for a year or so before I made a comeback again. And it was tough because, within that year, I didn't have the best domestic season either because it was, like I said, I was
expectations high.
So much expectation. I was like, you're a national player now. You've got to show them that you can do this and do that. And, once you start playing for South Africa, your mind naturally starts going, now, the IPL is beckoning and you can do this and you do that. And I just put so much pressure on myself. And that was actually the biggest lesson that I learned is that coach came back to me there. I was our Titans coach, but he's actually the national coach now, Rob Walter. You should know Rob Walter quite well. Yeah, yes. He's probably the best coach I've ever worked with. And, he just came to me one day and said, look, I can see how much you're struggling. I can see how much pressure you're putting on yourself. All I just want you to remember is don't let your performance dictate the type of person that you are.
Nice.
Just because you're doing well doesn't mean that your wife's going to love you more. And just when you make a duck doesn't mean that people are going to hate you. Performance is so subjective. Just never let that affect the person that you're on. And since that moment, I've always tried to be like that. And that was, again, like one of those penny drop moments, like, that actually kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
And then I just stopped putting pressure on myself. And then, lo and behold, 3-4 months later, I was back in the national side again.
I want to go with the expectations in the game. What did that look like in the game when you've got expectations so high and you're trying so hard to be this South African player in domestic cricket? What did that look like with the bat and the ball?
Yeah, I think it was just, going in and with the bat trying to hit 200-meter sixes, trying to really make that statement. When you go out there with the bat, you want to make that statement, you end up going after something that's maybe not in your zone, and you just end up, hitting out, and, you look like a bit of a idiot out there. And then with the ball, it was just trying to take a wicket every single ball because, as a currency for a bowler, it's wickets, At that stage, I didn't, even the thought in my mind wasn't about, you've got your strike bowlers, you've got your containing bowlers, and you're containing bowlers. So, that didn't go through my mind. It was just about every single ball, just try and bowl the swinger, pitching leg stump, top of off stump ball, and that just didn't work out. And, then obviously my performance domestically dipped quite badly also, and until I kind of sorted myself out, and then it started picking up again.
Right. So that got a bit more balance around, all right, I can control the person I am. I can control David Wiese.
Just more perspective also.
Right.
For me, perspective is a big thing when it comes to this game. Once you start putting things in perspective with what's going on in the world, and everything just kind of fades into, the noise just starts fading away.
Yeah, that kind of, I've had that recently when I've played a lot of cricket. I've kind of been deep in that cricket bubble.
Yeah.
And you're constantly comparing yourself with other cricketers. Okay, he's earning this much, or he's got that contract, or he's averaging this, and he's bowling this fast. Oh, he swings at this much. Oh, he took that catch. And I'm just in this bubble, and it's not till I actually probably meet up with a friend, or when I go back to around my family, where I go, oh no, hold on, that's not a massive deal.
No. So I actually make a conscious effort. I'm probably the worst guy when it comes to knowing what's going on in the world in terms of cricket. I don't watch cricket. I'll follow my mates. I'm still quite close to a lot of the guys playing for the Proteas and the Namibian guys, and being on the circuit, you become closer mates with certain people. So I'll follow their performances, but I don't watch games at all. I don't follow cricket. I just feel like, it's so consuming for us when we play the game that I don't want to be sitting at home with my family and not focusing on my kids or anything, and just not being pleasant for them because I'm thinking about the game or watching this, whatever. So I make a conscious effort just to, just ignore it, just get away from it completely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 30 years old, around 2015?
Yeah, I just turned 30, yeah.
So you're back, so you get a bit more perspective. Obviously, performance changes. You're back in the South African side. Grant Elliott talks about when he made the New Zealand side, how his goal was just to make the New Zealand side, and he wished that he'd set his goal to be, a top 5 all-rounder in the world.
Yeah.
When you got back into the South African side, were you a goal-setting guy? What was the kind of mindset there? And imposter syndrome as well was something that kind of creeps into all of us where, oh no, hold on, they're going to find out I'm actually not that good.
Yeah, it's amazing. I thought I was the only one who felt like that. I was like, when are they actually going to figure it out that you're not that good? You're kind of just faking it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who used to feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're back in South Africa. What's the mindset now that you've a bit more perspective? You're back playing.
When I came back again, it was my first series back was against the West Indies, and that was life changing for me because I took a 5-for against him in Durban. It was literally just 2 weeks before the IPL auction, and that just kickstarted things, and that was a life changing moment for me there. But when I got back into South African side, I just basically made a decision of I'm going to do whatever the team requires me to do. If they're going to need me to bowl with a new ball and take wickets, I'll do my best with that. But if they're going to need me just to go for 6 dots in or 6 singles in an over, be defensive, whatever, I'm just going to do that. I just shifted that perspective to just be the best player that the team needs you on that day. It could change on any given day, but whatever they need you to do that day, just go and try and do that the best that you can.
No, I love that. And it's something that sometimes when you are a kind of first change bowler and you bat 7 or 8, there's quite often games, if your team's playing well, you don't really feature a hell of a lot.
I always say that if my name doesn't come up on the scoreboard, that means the team's doing well.
Wow.
If I don't get a bat, then that means the team's doing well. That means that the guys are smashing it, and I can just sit back and enjoy it. And if I'm not taking wickets, that means the strike bowlers are doing their job, and I can just sit back and enjoy it. So yeah, I think that was that shift in perspective, is that, because the type of players that we are, you come in 7, 8, face a couple balls, you're the third, fourth change bowler. You're not always going to be the guy who picks up the fifer. You're not going to bang the 50s, whatever, but you can have those pivotal moments in the game. You can score 20 off 6, 7 balls just to give a bit of momentum. Nobody's going to talk about it. It's not going to come up on the scorecard, but you've done your job. You can just take 1 wicket, but go for 5s in your 4 overs and put the pressure on the batters that they go and try and take on another bowler, and then he picks up the fifer. No glory for you, but you've done your job. You've gone and led to someone else's success. And that was something that I also try to always focus on, not my own personal performance, but the personal impacts that you can have in the game.
It's interesting, because I'm thinking now, talking about the last couple of years. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but that's just the nature of a podcast. We can go anywhere we like. No one's controlling. There's no one in the back room. We're in the hotel, in the Bangla Tigers team room actually right now. But last couple of years, you've been on the franchise circuit, and that's going from tournament to tournament. And the fear is that if you have a bad tournament, then you're not going to get picked up the next year, or you're not going to get the next tournament. So how does that go about when you're going into the teams now, and you're like, look, I'm just going to do whatever role they want, but then you find you're not really putting in the performances for the next role? How have you found that?
Yeah, that is a fine line, because you essentially you're playing for your next contract. You're always on audition for your next gig, and you don't want to just sit back and let somebody else take the limelight, because then you might not be the flavor of the month and get picked up again. So that is a fine balancing act. I've always found that, it sounds stupid, but good things happen to good people. If you're just being a good person and you're staying consistent, a lot of the times I feel like the team owners, and the coaches and everyone, they respond better to that. So they would much rather have a good bloke in the team. Maybe his performance hasn't been that great, but at least he's a good team man, compared to someone who's an absolute dickhead in the team and just nobody likes being about. So that's the one thing that I try and do. Also, the other thing is, again, this sport that we play is actually messed up, because it's based around failure. It's
I hate it sometimes.
Why would you want to play a sport where the most successful people in the world only succeed like 30% of the time? It's mind numbing why we do it to ourselves, but we love it. So I've always just had that thing, like, okay, you're not always gonna be the guy who puts in the big performances. But when it is your day, make sure it counts. Get that big man of the match award. If you have a gun tournament, if you play 10 games and you have a gun tournament, you're probably only going to end up having 2 or 3 man of the match awards anyways. People think that, you have to go and win every single game for your team. And no, it doesn't work like that. If you have a gun tournament, you're only going to get those 2, 3 man of the match performances. So just make sure when the opportunity comes, you go and put in those performances, and then everything else, you just try and manage it and just try and not suck that badly. And then the rest it's out of your hands. You can only do so much, and some coaches will like you and they'll keep you about. Some coaches will think that you an imposter, and then they won't see value in you. But at some stage they will. If you just keep putting in those match-winning performances, there will be guys that start to realize, hang on, maybe there's nothing flashy about it, but he gets the job done.
No, it's super interesting around the nature of your position in different teams, because I'm finding now that I've gone on a couple of different teams, and you have a different coach, a different captain, a different group of guys. The mix of guys change. If you've been there last year, guys have probably never played with you before or even seen you before. And this is what I've kind of found in the few new teams that I've played for. Wellington, Netherlands, not so much, because I've been around that group for a while. But it's interesting when you come into a new team and you maybe not have for this tournament, for me, it probably wasn't the best tournament with the ball so far. And it was frustrating because the pitches were, perfectly laid out for my type of bowling. And and be able to come in at the end and hit a few, and so it hasn't been kind of, especially on the field, like, oh, boom, I nailed that. Last year I took a bunch of wickets and it was a great, like, just kind of happened. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Like it's hard, and so
start scratching your head, like what is the other guys doing that I'm not? Why are they successful? What are they doing and I'm not doing it?
So do you feel that when you go into different teams, where you go, sometimes you go into a team, and I can imagine going to Namibia, where you are the guy with the most experience, the most games, and everyone's kind of getting around you, and like, Davey, we know you're the guy.
Yeah.
Compare that to going to an IPL game where you're playing without multiple superstars and you're not necessarily the main guy.
Yeah.
Has that been a different feeling going to different teams?
Yeah, so I've made that mistake twice in my life. The first time is when I signed a 3-year contract with Sussex as a Kolpak player.
Right.
I was like, okay, you're giving up international cricket. You're signing a 3-year deal with this team. So, they're seeing value in you. So, you got to step up and you got to show your worth now. And that first season, I just found myself again, like, trying to prove a point, trying to show them how good you are. This is why you've signed me. This is why you've shown faith in me. And I ended up having the worst season of my life that year. It was really a tough season, combined with the English conditions that I wasn't used to. It was just a tough season. And again, there was a bit of learning that, just you've changed. You were successful for a couple of years because you were doing one thing, and now you're going to a new environment and you want to prove a point, and you've just changed completely the way you go about things. Just stay consistent. And then, learned that lesson, did that the whole time again at Sussex, became, started being successful again, started picking up 1 or 2 gigs in the franchise world. And the whole time I was just like, just stay consistent. Just stay consistent with yourself. Whatever you do, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what your price tag is, just stay consistent to yourself. That's it. And then it came to Namibia. And for some reason, I was like, now, there was, leading into the World Cup, there was big headlines, ex-South African playing for Namibia, making debut. You got these expectations, which is all just from yourself. I never felt the expectations or pressure from the team or anything like that. They're a lovely bunch of guys. They were just, so welcoming, for me being in the team. But you want to prove a point again, like, I played for South Africa and now I'm coming down playing for Namibia. I want to prove my worth. And, I didn't have the best start. Thankfully, we had a whole bunch of warm-up games before the World Cup, so I kind of got the kinks out of the system before that. And it was just, again, sitting down and having a conversation with our coach that time. He was like, look, stop trying to prove a point. Everybody knows what you can do. Everybody, respects you for what you've done for the game. Just go out and play the game now. Just go back to who you are and go back to the player that you are. And then, that thing kicked in again, and
against the Netherlands.
It was against the Netherlands, yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But I needed that. I really needed that performance.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And I remember that moment. It was the ninth. It was the 10th over, and we had you. I think we got about 150 or 160, whatever we got, and we had you kind of 50 for 3.
Yeah.
I reckon it was about 50 for 3. And I figured I think maybe Colin Ackerman bowled the 10th over, and we were on
Peter
top.
Saylor.
Was it Peter Saylor?
Yeah.
Someone bowled the 10th over, and there was timeouts. So timeouts had just come to the T20 game at 10 overs, and I was at deep square leg, and I was like, all right, cool. We're going to go into this timeout. We're well on top, in control of the run rate. We get David out here. I think Erasmus?
Yeah, he was batting with me.
He was with you, and you took the 10th over out of nowhere for like 16 or 17.
So I remember that I was about, I think, 2 of 8 or 9 balls. I was struggling. We played against Sri Lanka before that. I was in the bush, didn't feel good. Leading into that tournament, all the warm-up games, I was totally in the bush. I couldn't get the ball off the square, and I was there 2 of 9 balls. We were 54 whatever, chasing 160, and it was just one of those moments where you just like, stuff it. What's the worst that can happen over here? And even though it was a 10th over, probably wasn't the smartest play because we were going to be time at the end of that over. I just decided, he wasn't turning the ball, I'm just going to run down the wicket and try and swing as hard as I can. And, thankfully, I got it away. We got a big over there. And then it kind of just kick-started. And then Colin Ackerman came on and bowled another over. And I was like, okay, well, if it's up, it's gone, yeah. And it was weird because throughout that whole innings, I never felt good. I never felt like I was in control. I felt like I could get out in any moment. So I'm just going to try and hack it as much as I can, and try and just score as much as I can while I'm still, And it was just weird. And I just kept finding the middle, picking in the gap. And eventually we managed to pick it off there.
Yeah, and it was, and from the bowling perspective, it just felt like that once the bleeding started, we just couldn't claw back that momentum.
It's always like momentum is such a big thing in the game, and you can say what you want. As soon as you start, that momentum's on your side. I remember there was a couple edges that just went past the field, they went for 4, and then a close call that's not out, or to umpire's call or something. Things just start going your way, and if you don't take that scrap and you don't actually go show that intent, those things don't go your way. So that was also again one of those important moments for me. So your expense, but that was an important moment for us there.
It was interesting because that time for us in the Netherlands side, we probably weren't as much of a unit as we are now in the last couple of seasons, and it felt like you guys were very close, and you felt like you had a number of games leading into that tournament, and that bravery probably came from that culture, that feeling within that team that you go, you know what, I'm going to take this 10th over down. This is the right idea. The guys feel like they're going to back me if I make this decision. Whereas I think in our group at that time, we were a little bit scared to make those mistakes.
Yeah, I think what's always been a challenge, I don't know, or a good thing for Namibia is that everybody, besides for me, in Namibia, stays in Namibia, trains together every single day. They don't play on the franchise circuit. There's 1 or 2 guys now that's playing a couple of tournaments, but back then they were just a unit. They were every single day training together. Some guys were living together. It was just, they were a unit the whole time. Where I suppose where you guys have the challenge of guys playing county cricket, playing all over the place, that, a lot of the times you meet up for the first time when you come into the tournament. And that was a massive thing for us over there, is that, we might not be the most talented guys, we might not be the strongest team out there, but we're a team, we're a unit, and we're going to go down fighting as a team. And I think that's what actually made us successful in that World Cup. And we've kind of, I feel like, gone away from that a little bit as we become a bit more successful as a team. It's become a little bit more individualistic, and obviously the results haven't gone our way in the next 2 World Cups. But that was really for me, walking into that team, it was such a vibe, it was such a gel in that team. It was really special to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a special team. And that moment in time, coach, captain, team, everyone's on the same page. But I imagine you've played for, I don't know, I can't even count. I tried to do it before, and I was like, okay,
over 20.
I'm not even gonna try and count and remember them off by heart. But what has been a really good team unit, and what some of the key features in that team unit that made it such a strong unit? Maybe do another team that's not Namibia.
Yeah.
And then the opposite. What's an experience that you had within a team where these things were happening and it just made for a terrible time on and off the field?
Yeah, so when I started playing for the Titans, or when we were at our most successful, the Titans, it was around about 2013, 2014, 2015, around about there. We had fantastic players. I mean, the Titans side was myself, Faf du Plessis, Heino Kuhn, Farhan Bahardine, Morne Morkel, Albi Morkel. AB de Villiers was there for a while when we saw him, Dale Steyn. Heinrich Klaassen was just coming through also. So, Roelof van Amava, he was there. The Bulldog was there. We had guys who were national players who had to sit on the bench because the balance was just so good. But, barring the fact that we had such good players, again, everybody was mates in that team. We had such a good vibe in that team. Everybody was happy for each other's successes. You wanted your mate to do well the whole time. There was no egos or anything floating about. It was just it was that time where, we were good, but there was just something extra special about that team. It was just, you enjoyed each other's moments. You enjoyed on field, off field, the successes that we had. Families knew each other. Over the weekends we would get together with the families. It was just that vibe in the field, and you have that sense. You can just sense it when there's something special in a group of players. And it's not always, we were fortunate there that it was a talented bunch of guys, but it was just it wasn't that made us so successful. It was just the click that we had in the team. Where then I've been involved in other teams where we've had a whole bunch of superstars in those teams, on paper, you should be cleaning up every single side, but it is so individualistic. Everybody's just concerned about their own performance the whole time that they lose sight of the actual team and what the team needs. And ultimately, yeah, you can get away with maybe winning 1 or 2 games like that, because if you have quality players, they're always going to put in those match-winning performances. But more often than not, you're going to end up, failing. And, at the end of the season, you're sitting there, you haven't qualified for a playoff, and you're thinking like, how is this actually possible? And it just boils down to, the team dynamic and the culture that you have. Culture is a massive, massive thing in a team sport, and people underestimate how successful a weaker team can be that just has a good team culture.
So if we break that down a bit more, what is a coach doing to foster that culture? What do you want in a coach, and what do you believe a head coach and the coaching staff should be doing?
See, I believe, me personally, as soon as you get to a certain level, you don't really need to be coached that much anymore. If you're playing on the franchise circuit or for your national team or whatever, it's kind of accepted that you can play. You're okay. You're doing all right for yourself. So it's not about coaching anymore. I think it's more about man management. It's about knowing each individual player, knowing what makes them tick, knowing how to treat those players to get the best out of them. Yes, there is going to be times where you're going to pick up something technical and something small that maybe, he's changed in his game, that you're just going to go have a chat and say, you know what, I'm not telling you to do this, but I've noticed that you've maybe done this or that, maybe that's contributing to this. So there's always a little bit of coaching aspects, but for me, it's all about that environment that you're creating. You've just got to, give the guys the best opportunity for them to be successful, whether that is knowing that, I know playing with certain guys like, say, Logan van Beek, if you go and tell him off, that's going to bring out the best in him. That's the type of response that he wants. If he's messed up or had a bad day, he wants you to tell you that, listen, that's not good enough, that you need to go and be better. But then you've got other guys, and it's especially the newer generation players who you kind of have to coddle them a little bit and say, yeah, it's okay, it's fine, it's not the end of the world, you can do better next time, and this and that. And I think, and that's the most important, is that you can't treat every single person the same anymore. You need to know your team, you need to know what makes them tick, and the coaching side of it actually takes a back burner to the mental side of things, I think, personally.
So what's the coach saying to you?
I'm always a fan of a good bollocking once in a while. I feel like we all adults here, when you've messed up, and sometimes you need to get told, listen, that it's not good enough. And sometimes it annoys me so much when you've done badly, and you weren't on the mark in the day, and it's almost like the coach doesn't want to say anything. It's like, because they're so scared to actually say something nowadays. You're like, oh, it's okay, next time will be better. It's like, no, it won't be better next time. I was bad today. I need to be better, and tell me off for that. And that sometimes it's been a little bit frustrating for me. But yeah, I'm still a fan of you adults. You should be able to handle criticism as long as it's coming from a good place. You should be able to handle it, and that should motivate you to be better next time.
It's interesting. You talk about getting, a bollocking or a telling off, but when there's no trust in the group, or there's the coach and you don't really have a kind of, and you're still trying to feel like you need to prove yourself to the coach, I think that's quite hard.
It is tough, and especially, when you come into a franchise system where you're only being coached by a person for 4 or 5 weeks, that guy's not really going to come hard at you, or, he's going to try and just keep the peace in the team. And that's the challenging thing, is that, as a coach and a head coach, you've got to suss out guys so quickly. You've got to give it a week, and then you've got to know, this is what makes this guy tick, this is what makes him tick, and you've got to try and balance that the whole time. So that's what the best coaches in the world do, I feel. But it is difficult when you have a new coach, you're kind of sussing each other out. And, the last thing the coach wants to do is come hard at one of his senior players, and, the senior player thinking, who's this new coach, coming hard at me? But, again, for me, that's where the maturity comes in. If you know that it's valid, it's coming from a good place, then you should be able to take it.
For me, that it just adds fuel to the fire. Like I'm still waking up and I'm going, I haven't worked this out yet. All right, I've got this, and this. There's so many things I can improve on.
Yeah.
And that's something that has just kept me in the game. And I think that's the part that I love about it, is that I don't think I'll ever work it out.
Yeah.
But there's still so many things I want to improve on.
Yeah.
I want to improve that, swing the ball more, watching some of the guys do it in the world, where if you're going to bowl on the power play, you need to know how to swing the ball. You want to be able to bat from, overs 12 onwards and be effective and finish games. I want to still improve, fielding wise, hitting the stumps. And the hard thing is that you only have a limited amount of time in the day. Your body can only withstand, a certain amount, and then the schedule dictates kind of the times that you can do it, or the facilities that you can do it. The gym here is terrible, so we can't necessarily improve that side of it
with what you have.
But that's the part that it just gives me so much fuel. Like even this last week or so, it's like I'm like, all right, I'm eager to get back out there, and I think that's the thing that keeps me.
So that's for me also. I mean, people seem to be asking me a lot nowadays, how long still, how many years have left in you, when are you planning to retire? I mean, I'm close to 40 now, so I'm pushing a little bit, but for me, it's that exact thing. Like, I love going to training. I love training because I know I can get better at doing something. I see somebody doing something, I want to learn to do that. I don't have a good day with the ball, I want to go to the nets and be better. If I get my shins blown off the next training session, I'm working on not letting that happen again. And I think, the answer for me is always that the day that I feel like I don't want to do that anymore, it's not about the game, because for me, you should always be up for a game. It doesn't matter if you 20, 40 or whatever. The moment you walk out onto the field and you're playing a competitive match, you should always be up for it. That's not a non-negotiable. But for me, the tough part comes in is everything that goes around it. If you're not really keen anymore to do the fitness side of it, if you don't want to go to training, you start taking the optionals. You start taking the optionals off. You stop looking after your diet a little bit. You just start getting a little bit sloppy with the things that you do. Those are the signs, not necessarily what happens in game time. It's everything going around there. And the moment that I feel like I just can't be bothered to learn something new or to improve my game or whatever, then that's the time where you got to start asking yourself those questions.
Speaking of nutrition and off the field stuff, away from the skills, what's been the 20-year-old, the 25, the 30, the 35, now 40, 39? Are you a drinker? Do you eat what you want? Are you conscious? Like, how do you keep yourself obviously in great shape, but what's been the journey along that side of it?
Yeah, so I made that decision, like I said, in National Academy, that I will never put myself in a position where I don't let my performance dictate my place in the team. So if I'm not doing well, that's fine, drop me. But I'm not going to let my fitness be the issue. I'm not going to get left out of a team because I'm not fit enough or I'm not strong enough. And,
love it.
And touch wood, because of that, I haven't picked up so many injuries over the years. But I've always worked hard at my fitness, and it's something that I've learned to enjoy. I actually like going to the gym after a game. I enjoy going and just doing the recovery. It's almost just the unwinding. And, as I've gotten older, having kids now, that hour and a half you spend in the gym is your quiet time almost. It's your time that you get to spend by yourself. You just center yourself, and then you get back to the madness again. Diet wise, I've never been a big drinker after university. During university, there was a time, you go through that stage, whatever. But after that, I kind of chilled it out a little bit when I made that decision. Okay, well, let's just focus on fitness and focus on all of those things that you need to do. Diet wise, I think diet is just common sense, really. I've done a little bit of, as you get older and you get more serious about stuff, you start doing a bit of research and you learn about calories in, calories out, all of that mumbo jumbo. But for me, it's just about, eat healthy, don't eat processed foods. I mean, if it comes in a box or something made in a takeaway joint, it's probably not good for you. There was a long time where I had like no sugar, no carbs type of thing, but then I kind of just incorporated the carbs again and stay away from the sugars. But again, as you start getting older, you start to realize that if you want to have a chocolate, eat the damn chocolate. I mean, it's not gonna have that effect on you. You know, if you eat 20 chocolates, then okay, you start having questions. I'll always, if I go out for dinner with my wife or family, whatever, I'll always have a dessert. I'll have a starter, main, and dessert. You know, you've got to have that. You've got to have that balance in life, and you know, you've just got to keep everything in moderation. So I don't really focus that much on eating specific diet or anything like that. It's just, for me, it's just more common sense. And also I'm a fussy eater. So a lot of things that I eat are just plain normal. You know, coming from South Africa, it's always just, you know, your meat, your vegetables, and maybe a potato or carb on the side. I'm a very plain eater, which has probably helped me along the way.
So how does that work when you're in Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, where the plain stuff is not necessarily readily available?
So 2 secrets. One is for a long time now, probably 6 or 7 years, I've been an ambassador for a supplement company called USN. So I take a lot of their products on tour. So I do drink a lot of protein shakes, a lot of supplements. Even in my day-to-day life, I have a lot of supplements. I'm drinking about 3 or 4 shakes a day just to keep things going. And also the big banker is spaghetti bolognese.
Wow.
I've always found that it doesn't matter where you go in the world, it's difficult to mess up spaghetti bolognese. If there's any doubt in your mind, go spag bowl.
Spag bowl.
Spag bowl, it's the way to go. And it literally, it gets to a stage sometimes where if I'm in a hotel and I feel like, you know, this is a little bit dodgy, I'll have spag bowl every single meal for a week. I don't care. I'm one of those guys, like, I don't live to eat. I eat to live.
Yeah.
You know, so if I have to eat the same thing every single day for a week, so be it. As long as it doesn't take me down, that's fine with me. But yeah, spag bowl is always the banker.
Oh well, you're welcome at our house at any time, because we are the most boring eaters in the world. My wife and I, she's a health and wellness coach and does a lot of nutrition and training with her clients.
Yeah,
and she constantly says to me, "Are you not annoyed at me that we're having the same meal tonight?" I'm like, "No, look, this is fantastic. If I don't have to think about it, happy days." And I'm not super fussy when it comes to eating. I'll just
I'm also the worst, like, creature of habit. If I find something that I enjoy, I stick with it. There's no like experimenting or anything. We at home sometimes we would literally have Monday, there's Tuesday, there's Wednesday, there's Thursday, and it's just a habit, and it's like it's that comfort that you have out of knowing what's going to take place. So yeah, I'm a massive creature of habit when it comes to certain things.
You mentioned home, you mentioned balance, and we've talked about penny drop moments and pivotal moments. What was that like when you met your wife and got married?
Yeah,
and how did that had an effect on your game? And then now having children, how's that had an effect on your game and your mindset and the way you go about it? And plus, final question, to just put 75 questions in one question, is how do you maintain that family balance while being on the road all the time?
So I was fortunate enough that when I met my wife, I was already a professional cricketer. So it wasn't like there was this big transition from just being a student or whatever to now suddenly being away the whole time. From the day that we started dating, I mean, we were friends for 2 years or so before we actually started dating. So she always knew what she was getting herself into. Yes, guaranteed over the last couple of years, it's kind of escalated a little bit. But even playing for the Titans back at home when I was just playing domestically, you're still gone, you know, you play home and away. So you're gone quite often. So she always knew that she was going to be leading into a life that I'm not around that much, which I think she enjoys. She's heavily independent. She used to have her own business. She's a makeup artist, so she used to be busy with that also. And she's also sacrificed a lot for me to be able to do what I'm doing, which I'm heavily grateful for. And you know what it's like, happy wife, happy life. So I've been fortunate that. Also, the other thing is my wife's a little bit younger than me, so I kind of bought myself time when it came to having kids and everything. And once we started getting to that stage where we started having kids. Then it started getting a little bit more difficult because having kids kind of coincided with my career just taking off a little bit, which I still remember. It's funny. I was speaking to the owner of the Lahore Qalandars, and my wife was pregnant and she was expecting, and he said to me, what are you guys having? And he's like, I said, no, I'm having a little baby girl. It's like, girls are blessings. I promise you, from the moment you have a daughter, you will just be blessed for the rest of your life.
Love that.
And it was amazing. Like I had a daughter, and everything got put in perspective, and then all of a sudden, like cricket just took off. And I don't know if it was because of that perspective that you have, but yeah. So my wife always jokes with me that she might not be a single parent, but she's a solo parent, because a lot of the times I'm away, which is tough. But my girls are still quite young, so they don't understand it, but it's kind of, they've gotten used to it now. And because they're still young, I feel like I'm not missing out on that much. As they get older, they both into the dancing, everything, there'll be the dance shows, all of that. Then, fortunately I'll be about then. But it's as gotten older, it's gotten a little bit more difficult. But again, my wife is an absolute superstar, where she understands that this isn't going to be forever. And if all goes well, the day that I finish playing cricket, I will be home a lot more than your average 9-to-5 father anyways. I plan to be a stay-at-home dad as much as I possibly can. So, I'm kind of trying to buy myself time now for the future. And that's what keeps me going at the end of the day, is that, right now it's tough. But in those years that are more defining years for your family and for your children, you are going to be about 24/7, and that's going to be more important for me.
That's awesome. And I think when you do find a partner in crime like your wife, and their understanding of the career, the nature of cricketing careers, first few years of it, our relationship with my wife, I was overseas a lot, and we ended up we actually dated for 4 months, and then we broke up because I was going overseas for 6 months. And I said, look, I don't do long distance.
Yeah.
And I'd seen other cricketers' relationships go down the girdler from long distance. So I was like, I'm not going to do this. And fortunate enough, 6 months later, I came back to New Zealand, asked back out. Lockdown happened, and our relationship just kind of went from strength to strength. And we built such a solid base, got engaged, got married, still had those long distance periods, but there was such a trust and like, all right, cool. This is my partner in crime. I want the best for her. She wants the best for me. She's starting to understand the nature of being a cricketer is only a certain amount of time, and we kind of just made that decision that, look, I'm here for you. You're here for me. Yeah. Please be the best version of yourself, because that's why I married you. It's awesome.
It takes a special type of woman to date a sportsman. I must say, because it's such a different lifestyle. It's nothing that you can read in a book or a manual or anything like that, because it's so different. And it's not just being away the whole time, but a lot of the times when you get back home, it's you might have had a bad day, and you just want to be by yourself. You just want to chill a little bit, and they've also got to then understand where you're at in terms of, it's nothing that they've done. It's just you need your space. Or my wife quite often jokes when I'm home for like 2 or 3 months at a time. She's like, listen, when are you leaving now? You're getting in my space a bit too much now. You're getting my space. You need to get going. And I know she's joking, but I think there's a little bit of serious there also.
Yeah.
Because when you're away, especially with the kids, they just get into such a routine. They get into bang, bang, bang. This is what happens. They go, and then daddy comes home, and then he just spoils everything and spoils everyone. And then, everything just goes chaos in the house again. But yeah, it's really, it's a special type of woman to marry a sportsman. And I take my hat off to any wag out there, I must say. Because also, I've spent the last 5 weeks now, my wife had an unfortunate accident. She fell down the stairs and broke her ankle at home. So she couldn't do anything. So for 5 weeks now, before I came here, I was mom, dad, everything. Like, I take the kids to school every single day. My wife couldn't do anything. She was just on the couch, I think, enjoying every single moment of me. So I had a little glimpse of what it's like being that solo parent, and I take my hat off to my wife and to any wife out there who has that, because it is tough.
It's a full-time job, and I can imagine you got to your agent and said, look, come on, I need this GT20. I heard the pitches, interesting.
I need a job, man.
I need a job. Yeah. No, but it's very lucky, and it's really cool, because I have followed your career, and having played against you a number of times, and now this is the first time we've actually had a conversation longer than well played. Yeah, David, more often than not, and it's cool that I've seen through social media how you go about your lifestyle, and the way that every team you go to, you're giving your best. You're always getting 100%. And then your wife, there's photos of your wife and having a great time, and here, there, and everywhere, and the family comes along, and I'm like, I love that. And that's where, I'm craving to get to a certain level around those kind of franchise tournaments where you can travel the world, have your family there, still have a nice balance.
Yeah.
And it's, by you kind of showing the way, it's kind of given me like a good direction around.
We're very fortunate to be able to do what we do. I mean, there's not a lot of people who can say that, they get paid, and generally get paid quite well to go around the world, play different tournaments, see the world, meet different cultures, and to be able to take your family out there. A lot of the places my wife and I would never have gone to if it wasn't because of cricket. You're not going to go on holiday to India or Sri Lanka or whichever places, but once you get there, you just experience the culture, and it's an awesome place to tour. So yeah, we're massively fortunate to do what we do. And that's why I've just tried to embrace every single moment of it, and try and take my family out as much as I possibly can. My daughter's probably got more stamps in her passport than the average person. But it's also so funny because when we flew to the World Cup in Australia, I was like, it's a long flight that, and my youngest daughter was only 6 months old. My oldest was like 2.5. So I had to pay full price for her, but the youngest had a seat with my wife. And, I flew before the time of the team, and I felt so guilty, the fact that we fly business class and whatever. So I was like, you know what? Again, happy wife, happy life. Put them in business class also. So, flew to Australia, business class, little 2.5-year-old daughter, like in the little business class seat, loving every single moment. And then shortly after that, it was the T10 in Abu Dhabi. So they came out to that also. Only 8-hour flight, so stick them in economy class there. And as we sit down, my daughter turns to me, she's like, "Daddy, where's my bed?" She's like, she couldn't understand that now on this plane, she just has a chair, and she's only yay big, so she can lie on the chair anyways.
Oh no,
like,
you've made a mistake.
Where's my chair? So
you've made a mistake.
I spoiled her from the start, and now she's got this expectation all the time. I was like, no, don't get used to this. That was a special plane. This is the normal plane now.
I think flying business class was the best, and this is sounding like a little bit douchey now. We're talking about we want to fly business class, but it was the best worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah, because you can't go back after that.
And you realize, oh wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my legs are constricted. I know this and shame. Thank you. Okay,
thank you
all right.
very much.
We get 3 meals. Okay, I can have any time that I like. And it was the best worst thing.
Yeah.
It is something I'm still not. I probably still wouldn't pay for it.
I wouldn't. Like my wife even knows that I've said to her, look, as soon as cricket finishes, those things finish also, because it's as good as it is. And let's be honest, it is nice to go there and know you have a flat bed and you can just sleep, whatever. I can't justify the price for it. I always say to my wife, okay, we're not going to fly business class, but you realize that then you can take this extra money that we save and we can have such a good holiday. You can go shopping, we can do this, we can take the kids there. It's just so much better than wasting it on a flight. Just bite the bullet for a couple hours. I know it's tough, but also I think it's tough on me because I'm 6'3", she's 5 yay. So going, how much space do you need there? So,
and I think probably South Africans and New Zealanders similar, where when we travel, we have to kind of go at least 8-9 hours.
Yes, there's nothing really close. To
get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I've got family all around the world, and New Zealand's not the most on the way place.
No.
When you go to New Zealand, you go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
you're committing to it.
You're committing to it.
We're not just going to stop in New Zealand on the way. It's like it's a commitment.
So for us as Kiwis, once we go, we're gone, and we're prepared to go 24 hours on a plane.
So you guys do some solid stints when you fly. It's like that's long haul.
It's long haul. Thankfully, I like movies. Thankfully, I can talk to people and around who I'm sitting with. Probably annoy them most of the time.
You're that guy where people are like,
definitely, especially that first hour. I'm trying to get to know everyone. Make sure I get an aisle seat so I can get out every time, because I remember I had a bad experience of window seat, and I needed to go to the toilet, and I didn't want to wake them up.
Yeah, you just feel so bad.
And
like
I hadn't made that connection initially, and I had one foot either foot on the footrest or the armrest, sorry, and the woman woke up just as I was kind of crotch and everything.
Well, that was a conversation starter.
And so that took that, and it was like dark as well, and it was awkward. She was half asleep, and it was just like, thankfully, I kind of made a joke of it, and we got over that. I don't know where she is now, but yeah, there's certain key things. Anyway, that's enough of our 5 minutes of first world problems. We'll get back to the regular scheduled programming, and I'm going to finish this on because we could sit here and talk all day, but we've got to go for dinner and have our spag bowl. David Wiese, you're going to play for another number of years. You're fit. You're still performing. You're a great asset to any team on and off the field. Fast forward a little bit. You talked about being a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
What is, in 10 years' time, what does your lifestyle kind of look like? What's something you're interested in?
Yeah.
How are you going to go about it? Or how have you gone about that kind of career transitioning?
Yeah, so it's actually changed over the last couple of years quite a bit. I was always like, I studied, I graduated, I got a good degree. That's going to be my fallback. So as soon as I've finished playing, and there we go, back into the office. And I always said, like, the day that I retire from cricket, I'm going to walk away completely. I'm going to give it my all as a player, and then I'm going to step away and I'm going to go put on the suit and go do the office job. But then, as you start getting older and start playing a bit more, naturally guys start gravitating towards you for, advice. They want to pick your brain for experience. You help out a little bit, and
right here. Yeah.
And I kind of found myself enjoying that side of it. I like doing guys, come to you and you chat and you bounce off each other, ideas, whatever. And then the thought started crossing my mind. You know what? This game has given me so much. It's kind of difficult just to walk away. You kind of have to give back a little bit. So then I started playing with the idea of, going to maybe coaching, or, I don't know if I'll ever go like head coaching or anything like that, but, consultancy, mentorship, that type of thing. That kind of interests me, working with people in, small bursts of, tournaments, whatever. I suppose the franchise landscape is, quite unique for that. But then on the other hand, it's a case of, well, you spent your whole life being away from home. Now, do you want to take a job that takes you away from home? So, it's again, finding that balance. But if you had to ask me, like, ultimately what I'd want to do, I'd love to be like a general manager of a team.
Cool.
Like, be the general manager of a franchise, maybe even own my own team or something like that. That's being ambitious, Yeah. But to be able to run a team, to be part of the auctions, to do the logistics, to do everything, the day-to-day business. I think that's massively interesting, and to be able to be that guy that gives somebody an opportunity, maybe find somebody out of nowhere from obscurity that you can give them an opportunity, and then, they make it big one day, whatever. I think that's quite a cool thing to do. So, it's a long way away. But, maybe one day I'll turn out to be a general manager or franchise owner. But, I just know I don't think I'll be able to just walk away from this game. I'll probably be about for a couple more years. Yeah.
It's a similar feeling around, I'm going to go do something completely different. But you spend so long, 20 years.
It's all we know. Like it's
and there's IP in there. There's so much value that you probably don't even realize you have. It's
something like the smallest thing, but like as much as I say, after when I'm on tour, I'm like, I can't wait to get home and just chill at home and, just relax and whatever. That lasts like 2 weeks, and I'm like, I'm itchy. I need to do something. I need to get busy. I need to go, whatever. We're so used to traveling so much. If you don't go overseas 3-4 times a year, you're thinking, what's going on here? So, it's so ingrained in us that just to suddenly shock to the system, have a 9-to-5 sit in an office, I think you'll go insane. So, again, it's programmed in us. It's all we know. It's what we good at, I suppose. So, why fight that? Just give back and help out the next generation, I suppose.
All right. Well, I look forward to doing this podcast again in August 5th in 2034, and we'll see where we're placed then. And maybe this podcast does not exist, and we just do it for the hell of it. But David, this has been amazing. I say this to every guest, but it's like, this is what I love about a podcast is we've probably had half of these conversations already at the breakfast table. in the bar, just chatting away. And sometimes I just want to record some of the stuff that guys talk about. And I'm glad that I got a chance to sit with you. We did lose today against David, and we're out of the tournament. Thanks for again.
Wasn't because of me today, I can tell you that. So.
But thank you so much for sitting down, being open and honest, and just real about your career. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of value that you're going to provide, not only the teams you go into the next few years, but then when you get those consultant roles, when you become that general manager, it's something. Give me a call if you need a media guy, or someone to bowl a few overs as well and whack it at the end.
We'll see how long it takes. Don't sell yourself short. Media guy, maybe 10 years or so
down the track.
Anything in between there.
Yeah. But no,
there's going to be an Orlando retiring at some stage. So
noted. But no, you definitely give me inspiration around. Okay, it is possible to keep playing at 39. It is possible. You keep yourself healthy, and I think we probably won't dive into it, but we spoke about this beforehand. It's around just talking to you around. My wife said this to me 2 weeks ago. She said, "What do you want to get out of your career, and what do you want to achieve?" And it was quite a hard question to answer, because I was like, what, obviously I want to try and set up my family, and I want to become a semi-finalist in a World Cup for the Netherlands. The New Zealand, if I get a chance, maybe there's all these mixture of things.
But it changes as life goes on. It changes.
It changes. But if I sit here right now and I kind of think about it, and around that kind of associate kind of tag, it's I would love to be going around the world and being a finisher for teams, and be seen as a kind of genuine value add to a team, regardless of whether I'm an associate or an overseas. It's like, no, Logan van Beek, he's a guy.
There's no tag to it at all.
There's no tag.
Logan van Beek.
We've seen the value he can add to a team. Cool, we're going to pick him, and I think that's the part that's just lit a little bit more of a fire around. Okay, I know it's possible. It's not that far out of reach. Just got to kind of stick at it, and
just got to take those opportunities that come your way.
Exactly.
As soon as it comes, and you take it, and then you offer. I will be the first to say that it snowballs. Once you get that one opportunity and things work out for you, it just snowballs, and then you're just in for a hell of a ride.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to do my utmost to make it happen. And again, thank you very much. Let's go have a Diet Pepsi in the bar, and maybe some spag bowl.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Cheers, thank you.
Thanks very much.